You're listening to Viking Radio, coming to you from Dream Street Studios at Del Mar College.
Hello, I'm your host, Dr. Natalie Chapa. Good morning, Corpus Christi. You're listening to Retro Radio. I'm Dr. Natalie Chapa, and I've got on the side mic with me this morning, Mr. Mike Bratton.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. And joining us today is a Del Mar College alumni, an esteemed member of the Corpus Christi community. If there is any type of utility, electrical situation on the news, he's the one that you get to see. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Mr. Omar Lopez.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Omar.
That's very nice. It was a very nice introduction. Thank you. I'm very proud to be an alumnus here.
We are very proud to have you, dear friend. Yeah. So we've had some amazing alumni come on the show already and talk about Del Mar. You had a really great experience here, and I want people to know about it. Because a lot of people know Omar Lopez, but I'm not sure a lot of people know about Omar Lopez, the Del Mar College student at the Foghorn.
Let me start by saying this. I don't want to scare anyone away. This is the hardest school I've ever attended, and I've attended quite a few. This is the hardest school I've ever attended. It is no joke. The government classes here, the math classes that I took here, the writing classes that I took here, and I came in thinking, I'm the best writer there ever was. It's challenging, and it's hard, and I'm so glad I came here. But I tell people all the time, the hardest school I ever attended.
And I think that's a testament because sometimes people are like, oh, it's just community college, right? That's kind of a stigma we're already always facing. But I always hear alumni talking about this, that when they come here, I think that's part of it. You're like, okay, this is legit. But it's not so hard that you can't get through.
That's right.
Right?
I agree with Omar.
Yeah, but it teaches you study habits that if you didn't, there wasn't an IB program when I was in high school.
Right.
And I think that I went to high school. People were just trying to get through high school. It was 30-something years ago. Well, now these kids are trained to study and they're trained to perform college-level work. But it wasn't like that at the time.
No, it wasn't.
We had honors classes, but that just meant you had some extra work to do. But coming here, you really, because, you go to college and everyone thinks, you don't have to go to class. You're on your own. You have to go to class if you don't want to. This place teaches you, skip a class or two and see how behind you get.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like boot camp. And once you get through Del Mar College, just like Omar said, to me, after Del Mar College, everything seemed easier.
Because you've already gone through understanding, learn, like you said, time management,
big time
deadlines. We were in studio with Mike B. and Robert Meilenberg, and they were talking about the good old days with Omar Lopez.
Yeah, Foghorn.
Foghorn News.
Newspaper. Jeez. I feel like I've had two great lives at Del Mar College at two different times in my life. The first time I came here, and Dr. Chapa, you and I are good friends, so you know my story. We won't name names, but I went to a very highly esteemed Ivy League university in New York City, and I had a wonderful experience in New York City. I don't know if I can say the same thing about my college experience, but I had a wonderful experience in New York City. But when I came to Del Mar, I said, I'm not going to go to college. I'm just not going to go to college. It's not for me, obviously. And at the time, my parents said, oh, yeah, you are. You got to be on our health insurance. You have to go to college. So back in the day, you'd have to register for classes. You had to get in line.
That's right.
And I was in line, and some line for maybe chemistry or something. And Dr. Manuel Flores, who used to be the journalism professor here, he literally grabbed me by the back of my shirt and said, Hito, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm going to come to Del Mar. He said, no. What are you doing in this line? Why are you taking chemistry? I said, well, because I'm going to be a dentist. He said, you're going to be a dentist? Since when? Because I had known him throughout my life. I went to school with his sons. And I said, well, I'm going to be a dentist. Why? I said, well, it just sounds like a good thing to do. And I like going to the dentist, so I'm going to be a dentist.
That's about right.
No. And he took my registration card and he started scratching out all the classes that he said, you're going to come study journalism. And he wrote down intro to communications, intro to advertising, journalism, newspaper. And that set my career on its path, my entire life.
One person.
Path. Yep.
Yeah, same here. Same experience.
One person. And I got into those classes thinking, was this really for me? Am I going to really know what to do? And I started doing it. And Manuel Flores would always say, you're never going to know if you're good at anything unless you do it for the public. They'll tell you. Let them decide if you're good or not.
I like that.
And I wrote a couple of stories, and he said, they're good. We'll put them in the newspaper. I said, are you sure? No, they don't need to go in the newspaper. I thought they were class assignments. He said, no, that's what we do. And you're going to hear from people. You're going to hear feedback. And you're going to have to decide, is it good enough or not? Or can it be better? And he just taught me so much about life and writing and meeting deadlines and being resourceful and finding the answers to in the story.
You know, when
It was such a privilege
when
working
we
with Foghorn.
when we as you know, as we get older and we start looking to that next generation to mentor, I think people are like, well, how do you mentor somebody? You know, like what are the rules? And there really aren't any. But I think that is such a great example. You didn't ask him to be your mentor. He's not, son, I'm going to mentor you. He just saw this opportunity and he grabbed it, and he literally grabbed you by the shirt. But
Yes.
I think, you know, if you're listening out there, if you're wondering, how do I mentor somebody? Sometimes it can be that simple.
And I think
That's
it's
right.
challenging because I think when you hear like in business management programs, they'll tell you, find a mentor, find a mentor.
Exactly.
How do you find a
How do you find a mentor?
How do you
Yeah,
find a mentor? Because I don't think that, at least in my industry, the careers are not linear like that. It's not
exactly.
like you're going to be an associate attorney and then an attorney and then an partner. You know, it's not the same thing. And what I've realized as I've gone throughout my life, he's been the best mentor for me because he keeps showing up unexpectedly
Really?
with the most amazing opportunities. He'll show up out of nowhere. Hey, I have a job for you. I think this would be great for you. 5-10 years down the line.
Okay, this isn't like a mentor. This is like a guardian
But
No
yeah,
kidding.
I tell
Wow.
people he changed my life. And once I got into the classes here at Del Mar, I met so many people who I'm still friends with today. I learned so many valuable skills here just about showing up
Mhm.
and what it really meant to be a college student. You meet all kinds of people.
Mhm.
You have to make decisions about whether or not you want to go to college. You have to. But you know, when people say when they graduate with their degree, people say, well, it's just a piece of paper. It's not a piece of paper. It's all those life experiences
It's all
that
the
you've had,
experiences.
all the people that you've met, the people that you'll remember for the rest of your life. You may not even see them again ever, but you remember that you had a class with them.
Exactly. And when you can walk into a room feeling completely intimidated, but you can walk in anyway, you can sit down and you can stay present and listen. That's probably most of the work right there, is just getting there.
That's right.
You know, and
Yeah.
being like, oh, I do belong here. 'Cause so many times, it doesn't matter how smart you are. There's always somebody smarter. You know, there's always something that you don't quite understand. But to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I think so many of our students have that bravery in them because they have to show up. And somebody's like, oh, have you talked to an advisor? Well, about what? You know, because we talk so much college speak, you know?
Yes.
But one thing for sure that shows up over and over in the data is a good mentor
Sure.
and the importance of that.
And another thing that has changed significantly since Omar and I and Rob were students here is the amount and the quality of support services. There's so many support services at Del Mar College to catch people like me and you or anyone else before they drop out or just stop going to class. There's so much support. There really is.
That's really
Like,
good because I always used to say this about Del Mar College when I was here. I'm glad and I'm grateful that Manuel Flores found me and put me on that path because I was just coming to take classes. And what happens if I take classes for 2 years and I don't have a degree yet? I'm thinking, well, did I do something wrong? And then so many of my friends I saw, this happened to them. They would take classes for 2 years and then another year. Well, they don't want to be here 3 years because it's a 2-year college. So then they quit college
Yeah.
and they start working. when they probably had enough credits to have 2 associate's
Yes.
degrees, but they just weren't on a degree plan or didn't find the resources that they need.
Yeah.
Because we don't know that when you're 18. You don't know that. Oh,
You
I
don't.
better go find someone to make sure that my degree plan is.
And we have, and like what Mike was saying, is we have elevated as a community college across the nation. Community colleges are doing this. Like you said before, you didn't know what you wanted to do, but you could go to your local community college and take a few classes and figure it out along the way. But what we found is, as a student, you end up taking all these random classes and you waste time. So now we try, just like with the 4-year, you walk in and this is what you need to take, right? Here's your plan. This is your pathway. We call them pathways here at Del Mar. And so we have evolved to that. So you don't just walk in.
I love that word pathway because to me that means a beginning and a way to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes a degree plan, that sounds like a piece of paper that the average student's probably going to look at it and say, "What is this? So what do these mean?" You know, with the labs attached, like the pathway is so much easier to
it's so
understand.
confusing. But I remember being a student way back in the day with y'all, and well, maybe not as old as y'all, but, like I didn't have to stand in line at that point. I could call on the phone, but whatever. That was different times. But
Listen, here's a funny story. I'll never forget this. And Mr. Flotos was so mad when we moved from paper to phone. They set up a phone in the Harvard Center to register for classes, and it was the first day, and nobody knew how to do it. And we ran a picture on the front page of the phone. Remember this? And nobody was at the table, and the phone sat alone, one little phone. It was like students flocked to use telephone registration system. He was so mad, but it was so funny because nobody was using it. Nobody, you know.
well,
Slight exaggeration there.
fast forward to 2026, nobody would be using it again, right?
Yeah.
The phone would literally just be sitting there. It's like, what do you do with the phone?
Right? What are those buttons?
So I had a lot of, you can't get discouraged because college is not easy. Like even if you say like, well, it's community college, you still have to fill out paperwork to get here, and you still have to
Still a
take
process.
some
Yeah.
tests. Yeah, I mean it's work, but once you're in, you find your people, you find your pathway,
Yeah.
and that's really great.
So when we have this new culture of care initiative called the Viking Way here. And so really the idea is it doesn't matter if you're a student, a parent, a community member, as soon as you walk on campus or call or get online, right? Somebody from Del Mar College is there to greet you. Hey, nice to meet you. What can I help you with? And so we were in between meetings today, and I ran into a student, and her name was Marina from Carroll High School. And she was looking for the White Library, which is, of course, across campus. So I said, let me walk you. So that's part of the Viking Way. It's like, we don't just say now, oh, you're going to follow that path into that 3-story building. Now it's like, I'm Natalie. I'm going to walk you from here to the library.
So is that what Jeff was doing outside with that couple? They were lost, and he was helping them, and he said he was taking the time to give them instructions and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Technically, that's what Jeff was doing after he danced out to meet who he
I
thought was you.
Yeah.
So yes, that's exactly what Jeff was doing. But my point is, I'm walking this young woman, and she sees the White Library. It's 3 stories. And she's like, oh my God, this is crazy. Oh, it's 5 stories. Sorry, she was going to the 3rd floor. She was freaking out. And I thought, wow, that is an intimidating building for some people. For us, we work here. It's not
For
a big
first
deal.
timers?
I think it's
Yeah, I can
funny
see that.
because
For a
I
first
think
timer.
Carroll High School is an intimidating building.
Carroll
for me.
High School,
it's
yes.
enormous. Have you been to the track at Carroll High School?
I have not.
I ran a race. It's probably the nicest track I've ever run
Really?
on. Yes, it's gorgeous. It's like an Olympic track. It feels beautiful. It's like you're at a university.
And
Yeah.
fun fact for our folks out there, Omar's an avid runner, runs every day. Yeah, every day. And you started this a few years ago.
Yeah, I started taking it seriously a few years ago. I've always been a runner. I've always run around everywhere, but yeah, seriously, about 2
you
years
have
ago.
really, and to see every morning you and your bestie
Yeah.
taking pictures. We did it. We'll be right back.
This is where the world opens up to possibility, to action, to success. This is Windward Campus at Del Mar College, where cutting-edge facilities prepare you for careers in high-demand fields, and industry professionals bring real-world experience to the classroom. This is a place of discovery, opportunity, and growth. This is where potential becomes your power. This is where you belong. Learn more at dmcdreams.com.
This is Viking Radio.
I have to tell you about my second life at Del Mar College,
Okay.
which I love.
So we'll get into your second life at Del Mar College. I just want to remind our audience here on Retro Radio that we're here with Mr. Omar Lopez from AEP Texas. So we're talking about you being this avid runner now. You've been doing it for a few years, like consistently.
I was actually part of the Del Mar Running Club about a year ago. This guy,
That's
he
right.
started it on campus, but it only lasted about a
Yeah.
semester.
What happened
But it was
to
open
that?
to alumni. I said, "Yeah, I'll come." And so a couple
That's
of other
right.
alumni, like we ran.
We need to talk to Dr. Vela about that, to Carla about bringing that back.
Yeah.
Because it was, how many people was it?
15 maybe, but some of those alumni brought their
impressive.
kids. And and we ran like to Cole Park, but I think you could just run around campus on the
For sure.
sidewalk and have a really good run.
So you were talking about your second
Yes.
experience with Del Mar College.
Gosh, and I never talk about this, but it makes me so happy just thinking about it. So after I finished college and after I started working, at one point I was working in San Francisco
That's right.
for a couple of years. And right when I left the university where I eventually graduated, that last semester, a theater professor who ended up being a mentor as well, I wrote a story for the newspaper about his show, and he came up to me, he said, "This is better than the story that was in the local newspaper." I said, "Well, yeah, I'm a good writer." He said, "Well, I'd like to see if you could do a play." I said, "Well, I'm not an actor." He said, "Well, I like to mix non-actors with actors." And so I said, "All right, sure, I'll do it." And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And I genuinely felt like, oh, I get it. And I grew up in the 80s. I grew up on sitcoms.
Yep.
I was in front of the television all the time. So I just felt like I knew what to do.
Like I've been training for this
my whole
my whole
life.
life.
Well, so I did that. And so then I thought, well, maybe I should. One of my professors, do you guys remember Dr. David Mead? He's a local professor. He was notorious for his class that I took called the American Novel. Would you read 12 novels
Oh, wow.
in the semester? You have to read each one twice. And it was like The Grapes of Wrath, War and Peace.
Wow.
Was it War and Peace? I don't even. It was 12. Moby Dick. The great American. I don't know. You read these novels 12. I don't know. Quite a class. But anyway, he stopped me in class, and I thought, oh great, what's he gonna say? He's gonna know I only read it once. But he said, "I saw you in the play last night, the production." I said, "Oh, okay." He goes, "You're really very good." I said, "Oh, thanks, Dr. Mead." He said, "What are you doing getting an English degree?" I said, "Well, I'm a writer." He said, "I don't say this to a lot of people, but maybe you should chuck this and
Get on stage and
yeah,
act.
why don't you do that?" I thought, this guy is crazy. But I loved it. I just loved it. And so
And that is so you.
it kind of stayed
Yeah,
in me, And
yeah.
so then I thought, well, I had a couple of friends. You guys got to have Lydia Blanco on this podcast.
Oh, Lydia,
Yeah,
yes, with the talent agency.
Yeah, well, she was an
Yes.
actress. She was a working actress
Yes.
in Hollywood at the time.
We definitely
And
will
we've
have to
been
bring
friends
Lydia
for
on.
many, many years.
Yes.
We went to Baker Junior High together. I mean, we've known for a long time. But I would keep in touch with her. And so some of the people that I met at the university acting. Well, when I moved to California, I thought, well, man, you know what? California is the land of dreams. It's the land of possibilities.
for it.
I started studying at the American Conservatory Theater.
You did?
Yep.
How did I not know
in
this?
San Francisco. And I did a bunch of student films and then little tiny independent films. I did some industrial films for the company I was working for. And when I eventually moved back to Texas, I said, I'm going to do a show at the university. Like they had an open call for a show. And while we were there, we got a notice that Del Mar College was having auditions for the Shakespeare Festival. And there used to be a Shakespeare Festival here for many, many years with original music, original costumes. I mean, it was open to the community and everybody, they were all students, non-students. And so my friend Stan and I went to audition, and I'll never forget for his audition, he sang that song Brandy because he didn't memorize the monologue. He just went up there and said, I said Brandy. Yeah, and he was cast, and so was I. And I'll never forget Kim Frederick and Carl Yowell said, you two were the most professional auditions we had, auditioners. We said, great. It's like, whoever taught you how to audition, you guys really came in and worked. And you were very professional, and we appreciate that. And I thought, well, that's cool. I said, well, we're coming from the university. He said, well, good. That's good to know. You guys came in and you worked. So we did that show, and it was incredible. That first show must have been, geez, I don't even remember. Anyway, I did it for like 5 or 6 summers.
Really?
Yep. I did it for 5 or 6 summers here. Every summer I'd come, and you'd have to audition, and you were up against professional actors would come down and do it, and students and non-students and community members, and the most amazing experiences of my lifetime.
Was it the most fun you ever had in your life?
Pretty close, baby. I mean,
better than Vegas.
And I,
I'm just saying. I know he.
But I did some
when he goes
I
to
know.
Vegas.
I did some great shows here. I mean, Julius Caesar, The Merry Wives of Windsor, Romeo and Juliet,
Wow.
The Tempest.
and
I mean, I
now-
did so many good shows here.
And I think what I'd love for our audience to understand is that these were some really amazing experience that you've had. It has really made you grow as a professional. You're not a professional actor.
no, and I
though.
did this in my 30s,
Yeah,
like years
yes.
away from Del Mar College,
First
decades
of
away
all,
from the
I knew
college.
about that part, but I didn't know about the San Francisco
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, we're gonna have to talk about that over a
this
glass
was
of wine.
2 decades. 2 decades I hadn't been on
Because
this
you know
campus.
I acted in
I know.
Austin.
At the Zach. I know.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
So we won't be looking up those DVDs. But now, so again, you've transitioned. You still use your writing. You still use your stage presence because you oversee communications
I
for
do.
AEP Texas. And for those of you out there, everybody knows AEP Texas, but the reach, AEP Texas oversees, is it 40% of utility lines in the state?
We are by far the largest. We have 1 million customers. And I think that the reason that our reach is so large is because we have all the customers in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah.
Here in Corpus Christi, if you go up 37, we go to 3 Rivers. If you go up 35, we go to El Campo. Then we have all the brush country to Laredo, Del Rio, you go past, and then we jump
Yeah.
to Abilene, up into the Panhandle, and then San Angelo, all the way west.
Well, and you have worked there for a long time.
Yes.
You're the face, right? When there was a hurricane, and Katia Uriarte was like, Omar, if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
out there, can you call it?
I remember that.
But so right now it's getting to be summertime, and I know that y'all have been, talking to the public about hurricane safety. For us here at the college, it's significant, right? We've got a team who's always watching and preparing because of our 3 campuses. We want to make sure our infrastructure is safe, but then that we make decisions for our students and employees in case weather does come. So from AEP Texas's perspective, what are some tips that we should be thinking about just kind of out there as a community member?
Well, it's important to know that hurricane season already started June 1st to November 30th. It's a long haul.
It is a long haul.
So you really need to be prepared because here lately, for the past couple of years, we've seen some late season storms.
Yeah.
So it is a long haul, but there are so many resources that you can find online. We always tell people have an emergency kit ready to go. Get your documents in a safe place, get your transcript in a safe place.
Just kind of keep everything
And
together.
for students, I think the good thing about being a student is I remember this from Del Mar College, and I'm sure it's the same way now. You have a very good system and ways of
We do,
notifying
yes.
students. The notification system for students was excellent. And
Funny.
as a
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's in the room.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, as a student,
Mike does our crisis
oh,
communication.
there you go. I would recommend to students heed those directions from Del Mar College. If they're telling you it's not safe to come to campus, it's not safe to come to campus. I think if you grew up in Corpus Christi, where a lot of the students here, they're probably homegrown. You
Yes.
grow up with this lack of fear of hurricanes. Like,
Especially if I'm
it's
sorry,
a
but
hurricane. We'll be fine.
a cat 1 or 2 were like,
Yeah,
we can ride this
wind.
one out.
And
Yeah.
it's not like that anymore. We know too much now, and storm surge and water, it's so dangerous. But as a student, you're trying to make it on your own. Maybe you live in an apartment or
Yeah.
with some friends, or, maybe you've come here for a special program from another city, from a small town, and you're living in Corpus Christi. Listen to what the campus is telling you to do. If they're telling you to evacuate, evacuate. If they're telling you to stay home today, stay home. One of the things that I remember so much about, we kind of watched from my company, we watch what other people are saying all the time, but during COVID, for students, for someone who's trying to make it on their own, you really have to depend on your college or university or organization to give
Absolutely.
you some direction. So I would encourage all the students here, listen to what Del Mar College is saying. Listen, because they're at the forefront of your efforts is the safety of the students. And
Always.
that's so important.
First and foremost. And sometimes, of course, there's never a right or wrong answer out there in the public. Sometimes people feel like we overact, that we underreact. But we serve 4.5 counties. And so, for example, if Corpus is okay, if the weather in Corpus isn't too bad, however, in Rockport and Aransas Pass, the weather is severe. We have students and faculty and staff out in Rockport and Aransas Pass that we need to think about, And so that is one thing that I know Del Mar College is, we're always very aware, trying to be proactive. And it's better to overreact and maybe have to turn in an assignment or go on class online for a day than for anybody, right, to be put in any type of danger.
And I
for
think
sure.
when you're a student, that's your job. You're going to school.
That's
Sure,
right.
you have another job, but for a lot of people, that's their job. That okay, I'm on the pathway now. I'm in college. This is what I do. And when something breaks that business continuity, which is a term they'll learn later on in their life,
Yeah.
they need support.
Yes.
And so we tell, we tell everyone, listen to your local agency, listen and pay attention. They have your best interests at heart. For our customers, we communicate a lot on
Y'all are very good
social
at
media.
communication.
And
Yeah.
I will tell you that we sometimes over communicate, but I don't think we can communicate enough, because there's always going to be that one person who didn't quite hear it or didn't quite believe it. And you can't leave anyone behind.
So on social media, on Facebook, you have AEP Texas.
Sure. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on X. You can follow us on Instagram. Also, our website, aeptexas.com. We have an incredible outage map. And you can go to the outage map, and we'll always have safety alerts there. You can go to aeptexas.com and see a whole news blog of the things that we do around the service territory, our whole footprint. It's also a great way to meet our employees. So many of our employees are so active in their communities.
I love seeing everybody out there doing their thing. And I appreciate you bringing up, we've talked about the Del Mar College students, but we also have Texas A&M University Corpus Christi here, students from the university that are in apartments. And so thank you for acknowledging that. If you're out there listening, be sure to be following AEP Texas on social media. Be looking for Omar on the news whenever he gets to come on. But also, again, Del Mar College will always send out updates to our students and our employees, because safety is first. Omar, I thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you. This has been a really great time. And see my old friends here, and just
Great
Back
to see
on-
you.
I mean, I'm holding your
Foghorn
listeners
News.
can't see it, but I'm holding the foghorn, and this was just such a big part of my life.
Again, Omar, amigo, thank you so
Thank you.
much
This
for
was
joining
great.
us today. Again, that's a goodbye. We're here on Retro Radio from Dream Street Studios. And we're saying goodbye, and have a really great day, everybody. See you soon.
This is Viking Radio. This show is a production of Del Mar College.